Auto Loan Workbook Video 3, welcome back as we create a worksheet to assist us in calculating the monthly payment for a car. When we left off with Video 2, we learned how to use the payment function to reference the amounts of the principal, the interest rate, and the time. And we're indicating that time in months because that's the format that the payment function needs to calculate that monthly payment for us. And then we also had to adjust the annual rate. In this case it was 4%, and because the function calculates it based on monthly periods, we need to divide that interest rate of 4% by 12. So that was what we accomplished in Video 2. Here in Video 3, what we want to do is go ahead and build a table so that we can see what our monthly payment is, the amount of that payment that is going to pay the interest, and the amount that's actually going to pay off the loan, which we refer to as the principal payment. So it would be good for us just to back up just a little bit. You have to realize now that we are buying this money. We're buying $30,000 so we can buy a car. And the price for that is this interest rate. And that interest rate results in an amount of money that has to be paid back in addition to the principal amount. So essentially it's the price that you're paying for using somebody else's money over a period of time. In this case, the period of time is 5 years, 60 months. Well, let's see how that might work out. And we'll build this schedule for all 60 payments. And you will see that utilizing Excel can be real powerful in that we can use some copy and fill techniques to save a lot of time and build a very elaborate table. And then later on we'll actually graph some of this information so we can see how principal and interest work together when borrowing money for things like cars and houses. So the first thing to do here is that we're going to go ahead and put in our months. Now we can either do this by indicating it by periods, like the first month, second month, third month, or we can actually put in the dates. But to begin with, let's just go ahead and put in that this will be our first payment. Month number 1, month number 2. And then we can highlight that and take that all the way down to 60, because we'll need to make 60 payments. And then let's put those in the center. So take a moment to get that done. And with those monthly periods completed, we can now begin completing our table. Step number 1, the beginning balance. Let's go ahead and put an equal sign, and rather than type the amount there, let's go ahead and click on where that amount is in cell B4. So we're going to reference B4. So that becomes a formula, equals B4. And so whatever value is in B4 will show up in C11. So if I were to change this to 45,000, it's going to automatically update the value that begins our table. Payment amount. We can go right to this location here. So our formula is going to simply be to reference a different cell location. So this formula is going to be equals B8. Now the interest amount, we're going to have to do a calculation. How do we find the interest for just this 1 month? Well, it won't be too bad to do because we've already indicated our monthly interest amount, because we took that yearly amount and divided by 12. And so then the monthly amount for the first month, or period 1 here, the interest amount is going to be this interest rate times the beginning balance. $100. So then how do we calculate how much of the payment's actually going to paying off the loan? And that's called the principal payment. So once again, we have a payment, $552.50 a month. Part of that payment has to be the interest amount for borrowing the money based on this monthly interest rate. This is the price of using the $30,000 for 1 month. So how much actually goes to paying off the loan? That's right, the difference between the payment amount and how much of that payment went to covering the interest charge. So we have a little subtraction to do. Payment amount minus the interest amount. So the amount that actually went to paying off the $30,000 was $452.50. The other $100, of course, was just a fee or an interest payment that we needed to make for the privilege of using somebody else's money to buy our car. And then the ending balance will be how much money is owed of the original $30,000 at the end of the first payment, at the end of the first month. So we have another subtraction to do. Here's the amount that we owed at the beginning, at the start of the loan, minus the amount of principal payment that we made. So now we owe $29,547.50 after we made our first monthly payment. Well, let's go into month number 2. Beginning balance. The beginning balance will be the ending balance of the previous payment period. So once again, we can put in one of these simple formulas that references the location of the ending balance from the previous period. So in this case, it's going to be G11. And then we start the process all over again. The payment, reference that location again. Interest amount, let's do it again. And then I'll show you a way that we can automate this and make it a little faster so that we don't have to do this 60 times. So the interest amount again is the interest rate times, that's right, the beginning balance. Not this balance, not the $30,000 again, because we've already been charged interest for that month. Now we're going to be charged for the next month, but the amount that we owe is less, so our interest will be less. So this month we only owe $98.49. And we can reduce that if we want to 2 decimal places. To calculate the principal amount, equal sign, the payment minus the amount that went to the interest. So what's our new balance now? The beginning balance minus the principal payment. Let's see how much we owe for this loan this time. So now we owe $29,093.50. Let's do it again and get some practice to make sure you understand these relationships before we start doing some copying. Beginning balance is the previous ending balance. Payment amount is always the same amount each month. It's just that you're starting to see that the amount that goes to interest decreases and the amount that goes to the principal starts to increase. And we're going to create some graphs later to really illustrate that. Interest amount, interest rate, times beginning balance for that period. $96.98, principal payment. Payment amount minus the interest. And the ending balance again. Beginning balance minus the principal payment. So let's summarize these relationships. The beginning balance is the ending balance of the previous payment period. The payment amount remains the same each month. The interest amount is the monthly interest rate times the beginning balance for this particular period. The principal amount is going to be the payment amount minus the interest amount, the amount that went to actually paying the interest for that monthly period. And then the ending balance is going to be the beginning balance minus the principal payment. So those are relationships that you'll need to understand as we go through and complete this table. For the remainder of this video, go ahead and complete 4 and 5 to get some more practice. Study the relationships and maybe even talk to a neighbor. Maybe quiz one another as to exactly how these particular amounts were calculated. In the next video, we'll go ahead and complete the rest of this table utilizing some copy commands and some absolute cell references so that we can use our copy and fill commands to quickly complete our auto payment table.